Hello, I'm Mike Gresk, Mayor of the City of Wheaton, and welcome to this month's edition of Chat with the Mayor. Our guests come to us from via the DuPage Community Foundation, and they are the Executive Director, Dave McGowan, and also the Director of the Brighton Early Childhood Initiative, Elise Schram. David, tell us a little bit about the Community Foundation and its roots and its history and how you guys work.
Thank you. Well, the DuPage Foundation is a permanent charitable endowment to benefit the residents of DuPage County. And we are like 800 community foundations across the country that are built around either a county, a municipality, a region, a state, with the purpose of building these endowments for perpetual charitable support for a community. We are the group that champions philanthropy in a community, encourages people to give, encourages annual donors to make bequests to perpetuate those gifts, and helps the not-for-profits with their capacity to do more to benefit the residents in their community.
Dave, the nitty-gritty on that, who would come to you? I mean, I realize there's various levels here. Elise having one of those levels too, but there's various levels here of participation and of donation and of application. How if you could break that out into the various intricate parts that are the community foundation?
Sure, I'll do both sides of the equation. First is the donors. If a community foundation is doing its job well, it's not taking any of the resources that would already be going to the organizations working in DuPage on the front lines. So those annual dollars would already be going to those great not-for-profits. Our role is to, again, teach those donors how to endow those gifts and to teach those who aren't giving locally what their opportunities are for giving, introducing them to the planners in town to make sure that they have expert advice to make those kinds of gifts. On the other end of the equation are the not-for-profits. So with our unrestricted funds, we're going to give to those groups that are in DuPage and serve DuPage County residents. Our donors are entrusting us with those unrestricted dollars for their community. And we have a community needs grant cycle where twice a year not-for-profits can apply for those funds. But that's really only about a third of our grant making. We have donor-advised funds, scholarship funds, designated funds, and other agency-type funds that are more restricted in nature and more donor-directed in their purposes. So we follow those directions, and those have different access.
Now, if there's somebody watching this and listening to it online and all, what would some of those options be? There's somebody out there saying, "Well, I have a small not-for-profit. We do this." Within those various categories, what are the niches within those designated funds?
We have arts and culture, education, health, human services, and environment. Those are our 5 main grant categories within the unrestricted funds that we hold. So in the human services category, People's Resource Center, DuPage PADS, for example. In the environment category, SCARES, the Conservation Foundation, so organizations like that, and then newer organizations that are forming after they get some momentum can make approach to us as well to build their capacity to make a difference as well.
And within those funds, there are specific designations, people that want to do environment, or people that want to do housing, or people that want to do veterans programs. So there's pretty much one. I'm thinking there's one for everybody. Anybody out there who has a charitable cause, they can apply. And you mentioned application process. It's twice annually. And what just in broad brushstrokes, what does that process entail? How would you apply?
We have an online portal now. That was something that came out of our strategic plan when we asked the not-for-profits in a SWOT analysis what we could do better.
SWOT, tell people that aren't familiar with the acronym.
Weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Right.
85% of our not-for-profit grantee partners asked for an online grant application process so they wouldn't have to put piles of paper together for us, and we implemented it right away. So you can start an application online, and our grant committee made up of trustees from throughout the community and community members not on our board sit around a table and look at the merits of those requests for where we can have the biggest impact with limited resources.
So, and it's fine arts also, I believe. I know.
Absolutely.
I've read about those out there. And are the trustees, how many trustees do you have? How's that determined? I'm sure there's bylaws and all. Mm-hmm. How did the whole organization, probably going a little backwards here, how did the whole organization come into being? Wonderful philanthropic work you do, financing all of these various not-for-profits, 501c3 organizations. How did it come to be, David?
Well, Brooks McCormick, who was a long-time, had a big footprint out here, a long-time resident at St. James Farm, was the chair of the executive committee of the Chicago Community Trust, one of our larger and older community foundations in the country. And when he saw the corporate corridor growth and the burgeoning growth of these communities in the west suburbs, said there was probably need for a separate community foundation out in DuPage County. So we were actually formed as a fund of the Chicago Community Trust until in 1994. After 8 years in existence, we spun off as our own community foundation with that resource. And early founders included Jerry Bradshaw of Gary Wheaton Bank. Jerry and Betty served on our board 20 years combined. Mary Eleanor Wall of Elmhurst. Those were our three founders, Brooks, Mary Eleanor, and Jerry. And then we had some incredible advocates like your friend and mine, Cleve Carney, was probably Mr. DuPage Foundation, if I could name anyone. He was
a quiet giant.
Yeah.
He really is. People might not recognize the name, but he has touched so many lives. Please go ahead.
And Cleve passed away a few years ago, which was a great loss for our community. He was a Renaissance man and the true philanthropist. Yep. Really respected and enjoyed his input. But we've had the benefit of other great people throughout the community, like Joan Morrissey has been on our board, is now a trustee emerita and remains involved. We currently have 18 trustees, a dozen committees of trustee and community members that guide us throughout our policies and procedures, our fundraising, our grant-making strategies, some incredibly talented people.
Wonderful, wonderful. And one of those grantees is the Early Childhood Trust. And Elise, you're here for that. You want to talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the project director from the Wheaton Warrenville Early Childhood Collaborative. So we're one of the local collaboratives across DuPage County. There are a number across DuPage County, but ours, basically what we are is we are a group of community agencies, social service agencies, early child care providers, or just general supporters of early childhood. And what we're doing is we're trying to work towards kindergarten and school readiness, trying to increase that for our local area with a focus on increasing access to services for those most vulnerable populations in our community.
So your age target group is?
Is birth to 5 years old,
okay.
And obviously within that age group, families are very important, so also the parents and targeting the whole family for that birth to 5 population.
And what is how's the program structured? How is it?
So we are structured. We actually this year have grown to. 2 years ago, we only had around 30 organizations, and this year we are now up to over 50 community organizations that are kind of coming together. We meet bi-monthly, so every other month is a full group, and then between meetings we're actually have smaller subcommittee sort of work groups working towards different kind of interest areas of what we're wanting to move the work forward. So we kind of have 4 main goals and main subcommittees that are working towards each of those things. The first is we're basically trying to increase the communication and coordination within the service providers themselves. So we're trying to decrease that siloed work in this whole early childhood realm, getting them to work together better, sharing resources, even just networking at our meetings.
30 groups, such as?
50 groups.
Okay, such as?
They are some that were already mentioned by Dave. So People's Resource Center, Easter Seals, Wheaton Public Library are huge partners. Obviously the school district, District 200 are big partners. DuPage Pads, YWCA, and I know I'm probably forgetting a million.
When you start naming it, it's always going to leave out somebody. Right. Whoever we did, we apologize.
Right.
It's a classic example, though, of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Yes.
And that was what our strategic plan brought to the table was we could make grants in perpetuity, and we will, to help all the individuals and organizations out there that need assistance. But we stepped back and said, where can we make the biggest difference? And every piece of the research brought us back to birth to 5. If we can change lives in that age group, we can change the trajectory where those folks won't need some of these organizations later in life. Right. That was our big investment. So we crafted this Bright and Early DuPage initiative 4 years ago, which allowed us to brand the initiative of kindergarten readiness throughout DuPage. Well, you can imagine how overwhelming a goal that was. The only way we knew how to do that was to break it down community by community and have it grow up organically. So Wheaton Warrenville was the first one granted and the first collaborative up and running. Yep. There's 4 official grantees of ours now throughout DuPage. that are working together. As Elise just mentioned, not only are they bringing these 50 groups together within the Wheaton Warrenville collaborative, they're now networked with these other 4, and now we funded a regional early childhood collaborative through the DuPage Federation. So now there's a resource to connect them all more formally and official. And now we have some data. We just put out our first report to the community after these first 5 years since we started funding. And we showed how we leveraged money into the county through this program, how families are getting access to services because of this interconnectedness. It's amazing to watch the transformation of the providers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know things that I've read also and understand is that $1 spent when the child is 2 or 3 or 4 is well spent, particularly, as you mentioned, David, that they will not have to spend it for remedial type programs when they're 7 and 8 or 9 or
That's
12 or 15. Elise, could you give us some specific examples of the partnerships you mentioned? Some of the players within that within that 50-person group, the People's Resource Center, and the YWCA, and the Wheaton Library. Yeah. Could you hit on 1 or 2 of those collaborative efforts?
So one actually really big one that we do every year as kind of a larger group is the Family Day of Play. It's kind of an annual one. It's basically a play on a resource fair, but rather than having all of the community partners come together and just kind of hand out flyers, we kind of flipped sort of the script on what those look like. And so what we're trying to do instead is actually have an early learning activity that each of the partners actually have to bring. So when the families are walking in the door, we had over 200 families attend this year in February. It was a great event, great turnout, and all of the providers have to bring some kind of early learning activity. So these activities are going to help the children. They're age appropriate for birth to 5. It looks like kind of just the gym looks like a kind of a lot of chaos, but it's a lot of fun, and the families are learning activities that not only the kids get to interact with and learn while they're there on the day, but the parents actually get to take that and will be able to get some of the materials and then do it at home with their child as well. So we're trying to increase that.
It's a resource for the parents.
Exactly. So we're trying
Wonderful.
to increase
Impacting the child.
Exactly. Right. So we're trying to really increase that parent involvement because we know parents are a child's first and most important teacher. So we want it to really start at home. Also, of course, all of the service providers bring what they bring to the table. So if it's home visiting, if it's Head Start for a preschool program, they can also give them information about their program as well and sign people up on the day of. But really, we wanted to make it about the early learning activity for the kids.
And I realize it's a relatively new program,
Yes.
but the outreach. How many families you think how many families you've touched? You mentioned 200 showing up at this one event.
Yeah, so we have a number of community outreach events throughout the year. We actually have we have around 6 targeted communities that we're trying to reach out to and get materials to, get information about a child's growth and development, and just our our day of play and other activities we do throughout the year. I would say, I know last year it was over 600, so we're reaching about 600 families per year, and that number is growing. Another thing that we're trying to really promote is having your child screened for development. So in that birth to 5, a lot of people don't know that the school district actually does these ASQ trainings, which is the Ages and Stages questionnaire. And what it is it's basically a questionnaire for the parents to fill out on what the different things that the child can sort of do in terms of language, in terms of fine and gross motor development in a number of different areas. It's basically what it is it's able to access what the child can do, and so they can figure out if there are any learning deficiencies early, so that it's not, and then get them into the correct resources that they need. So if it's early intervention, if it's birth to 3 years old, or that special education for that 3 to 5 year old range. And so really, that's a really big push that we're trying to do. And it's for every family, not just the specific pocket areas.
And in addition to the community foundation funds, how else are you funded?
We are pretty much 100% funded through the DuPage Foundation, but we are looking for more private dollars. So it's really just local individuals that want to give to the Wheaton Warrenville Early Childhood Collaborative. Right now we have a Donate Now button on our website that we added last year. So
which is? The website? The website
is it's actually through our partners at the DuPage Federation. So it's dupagefederation.org/Wheaton Warrenville Early Childhood Collaborative, and I think it's an HTML like at the end. So it's basically there. If you just go to the DuPage Federation's website, you can actually just find us right on there. Or if you just Google Wheaton Warrenville Early Childhood Collaborative, we're pretty much the first one to pop up. And so it's basically a Donate Now button that people can go through. That's housed actually within Metropolitan Family Services, who is our kind of fiscal agent and fiscal funder where the grant dollars go through. And that's pretty much how we raised last year. We raised around $600, so which is a small amount, but we're trying to. It's a start, absolutely. Okay. And so yeah, we would really appreciate just to keep the program going. We do need some more individual private dollars as well from the community, so we can continue to support this work for families.
In addition to money, which is always nice, but so are volunteers.
Absolutely.
How might somebody interested in early childhood and development be of use to you in terms of your program?
Sure. So we actually, like I already kind of mentioned, a lot of our community outreach events. So if we had a family that wanted to, or just an individual that wanted to come help with the Family Day of Play. It's a really large, 200 plus people that are coming. It's a really large scale event. We have multiple vendors. So we have a number of things that we need help with through even with planning as well as execution and then the day of for volunteers. So that would be a huge help. And if they wanted to we're trying to get some more parent involvement on the actual collaborative itself. So if any parents were just interested in what we're doing with, increasing kindergarten readiness for our students, that if they wanted to come to a full collab meeting and just get some more information, we would love to have them. We have an upcoming meeting on May 10th that's going to be at the First Presbyterian Church preschool, which is another one of our local preschool partners.
Okay.
And also another way that families can get involved is actually we have a parent council group that meets, it's families that are from the Wheaton Warrenville area and have a child from birth to 5 or maybe a little bit older. And it's really about, again, that parent involvement piece and just increasing education around the child development needs. So we always have, it's a very informal meeting. It's every third Monday at the Wheaton Public Library from 10 to 11. And it's, we always have like a speaker that's talking about some kind of early childhood development issue. The upcoming one, instead of being the third Monday this month, it's actually going to be the fourth Monday, so the 24th. And so if they wanted to come and take a look at what that's all about, that would be great as well.
David, same question. I know volunteers are important to every group. How does it work with Community Foundation?
Well, certainly we're looking for the people who have the talent and expertise and the time to help guide us with our policies and procedures. In particular, tying into the collaborative we're just discussing, we have a Bright and Early DuPage Advisory Committee of current and former experts in the field of early childhood that are helping us with our funding decisions and our strategies for how we implement the program going further. So we're always looking for folks who want to be involved in this process of philanthropy and making a difference in their communities, for sure. I did want to mention our endowment has grown to more than $5 million, rounding up on 6, and that's the permanent endowment that will fund collaboratives like this going forward. So we're looking for funders to help continue growing that as well. As we get more requests throughout DuPage, it's expanding. We just received 8 requests last week with our deadline for the Bright and Early DuPage funding. Interestingly enough, a Wheaton resident read about the collaborative in the paper and last year made a gift from his family's foundation in Colorado. So he's a board member on this family foundation based in Colorado and made a recommendation to fund the collaborative as a result of his awareness of the effort in the community.
Wonderful. High
we
praise.
Also found out that this family published a book. Yeah. The title,
Mommy Talks.
Mom and Talk. So you know best
yes.
how many million words that we want our kids to learn by the time they're 5, 30
title,
million?
30 million words, yes.
The title again, David, of the book
Mommy Talks.
Mommy Talks.
And we actually have a number of copies. We gave them all to our community partners. I think we gave around 800 copies that we got from this family that you had mentioned.
Elise, how many words again, please?
30 million words.
That you know
need
by
before the age of 5. It's just supposed to encourage increasing the amount of talking to your child,
have to get a copy of that.
Reading to your child, and it's a really great book, and it kind of goes through. It's very obviously some holistic and in the early childhood realm, and it goes through sort of different scenarios, you know, being at the doctor's office, being in the car, different times when you can talk to your child more, and just taking advantage of those opportunities.
Wonderful.
It's a really cute book.
David.
Might be intimidated by the 30 million.
30 million seems like a lot.
Just remember the point. We have to be talking with our children. If we're
Right.
not interacting with them, they're not developing at the rate they need to be developing.
Right.
And one of the fun things about having that gift was the recognition of what we're doing as a foundation and as a collaborative. That really validates our efforts, but also I just want to mention, since they were our first collaborative funded, that they've been recognized as well. Do you mind just quickly telling?
Sure.
An honor, a recognition, go for it.
So
please.
we actually, well, it was kind of an assistance that we were recognized. It was more for our preschool expansion grant program. So that is a federally funded program, but comes through the state of Illinois. And basically they received a gold circle of quality. Basically what it means is that it's increasing, it's a statewide recognized award, and it's just about having a number of, I think it's 15 different standards that they have to sort of meet.
Right.
And so that program has been recognized for its quality and gold circle of quality. Even in our Wheaton Warrenville area, there are very few that have that circle of quality. So and it's through,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's through Accelerate Illinois, through our partners at the YWCA. So they helped kind of get them off the ground, get them get their classroom set up, get the administration ready to go, and so it was a great award that we were able to receive.
That's great. And just in case anyone wants a phone number, you mentioned the Google way to get there. How about a phone number?
I mean, you can contact me. I'm at 630-784-4860, and that's kind of my direct line. And I wanted to also mention we have a Facebook page, which is just Wheaton Warrenville ECC. It's facebook.com/Wheaton Warrenville ECC, and we have all of our community events. We're promoting all of our partners' community events. So anything that's early childhood in Wheaton, we're posting about it. So if you want to get some
David, same tough question. Website and phone number.
DuPageFoundation.org, 630-665-5556. And if they go to the site, there's a separate page for the Bright and Early DuPage where folks can do a little bit more research on the Wheaton Warrenville Collaborative and the other collaboratives we're funding as well.
Excellent, that's great. Our guests today have come to us via the DuPage, the Community Foundation of DuPage. We have Dave McGowan, who's the Executive Director, and we also have Elise Schram. Elise is the Director of the Bright and Early Childhood Initiative here in the Wheaton Warrenville area. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Gresk, Mayor of the City of Wheaton, and we'll see you around town.